Wherever you are in the world or wherever you are on your journey, welcome to the Recovery Journey podcast with Horizon Behavioral Health, where we know recovery is possible and every day is a second chance. Are you struggling with substance use addiction or worried about a friend or a loved one? You're not alone in this fight. We're here with some special guests joining us from their unique place of recovery or a supportive role in helping others on their recovery journey. Hey everyone, thanks for coming back and joining us again for the Recovery Journey podcast series. We are here with some special guests that are representing a very special program offered here in the city of Lynchburg in Central Virginia. And that program we've talked a little bit in past episodes about is the Lynchburg Adult Recovery Court, formerly known as the Lynchburg Adult Drug Court. So we are very excited to talk about some changes that the program is taking on this year. And we have some very special guests. I have sitting across from me at the table, Program Director Taylor. Thanks for being here, Taylor.
Thank you for having me.
Great. And I also have here Judge Watson, the presiding judge over the Lynchburg Adult Recovery Court program.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for being here, Judge Watson. And I also have Gina, somebody that has been involved with the program herself and is here to kind of share her recovery story and that journey with us.
Hello, I'm excited to be here.
Thanks, Regina. We're glad to have you. So I would love to just start having a conversation with our listeners out there who are not familiar with a treatment court. Can we talk a little bit about what that court is and its purpose?
Sure. Well, one misconception is that it's a separate court. You know, it has the name Lynchburg Adult Recovery Court. But what it is, it's a docket within the Lynchburg Circuit Court. And what it is, it's an alternative sentence, an alternative to incarceration or some other possible sentences that is targeted to certain people that it has been determined would benefit from it. We target people with high needs and high risk in substance use disorders. And it's a very vigorous program. And I think it started in the Lynchburg Circuit Court in about 2017.
Okay, so we're coming up on 5-10 years.
No, it would be, I guess.
Yeah,
we're
coming up
over
here.
7, yeah. I guess you're
Exciting how time flies.
Yeah.
And how many graduates that been? I know typically we're proud to graduate at least 5 almost every year since the program began. So just wonderful to hear about how many lives are being changed.
I think to date it's 15 or 16. Taylor?
I think we're in the 20 range now.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, total
Okay.
since the program started. So
Okay. Yeah, I was not counting the ones who have graduated, but we haven't had our formal graduation ceremony for. So you're right. It's in excess of 20 now.
That's amazing. It's so wonderful to know that resource is here for adults here in our community. So my understanding is that the program couples comprehensive and even intensive treatment through like a 5-phase process with the accountability of the court system. Is that correct?
That's right. When I first took over the drug court, I didn't know much about it. And a friend of mine who is a judge in Roanoke had presided over the drug court there for many years. I called him, and I think his description of it's probably the best one I've ever heard. He likened it to a 3-legged stool. And each leg represents a different aspect of the drug court. One leg is the court, the judge, who provides accountability and exercises some leverage over the participants to kind of push them in the directions that the treatment team and the supervision team thinks that this person might need to go. The second leg is the treatment team, and we're so thankful to have Horizon involved. Rhonda Turner, everything I know about drug treatment, I've learned from Rhonda. She's fantastic. And she's the point person on our team for all of the treatment that is provided to the participants.
And our listeners here today actually would have just heard from Rhonda in the last episode. So.
Well, anything that I say that conflicts with Rhonda, believe Rhonda. She's the expert. And then the third leg of that stool is the supervision. And the supervision is provided primarily by the probation office in Lynchburg. we have a probation officer who's dedicated to the team. And then Taylor also provides some supervision for some of the participants. And the supervision is intense. I mean, that's one of the things about the recovery court is that there are a lot of demands on participants. They have to meet regularly with either Taylor or their probation officer. There are a lot of expectations with regard to treatment. And then they come to court in the first several phases at least twice a month. So those are, in a rough sense, the three legs of drug court. And I think that is a pretty apt description of what we do.
It sounds like a strong foundation to a truly comprehensive approach to
Mm-hmm.
really be able to create a supportive system that can wrap around an individual. Regina, do you feel you've had tremendous success in the program, not just experience? Regina is actually a recipient of an award received last year.
The
that
Carl
correct?
Heath Award. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. And I do believe that Regina here was nominated by her peers in the program at the time for this award.
The recipient of the Carl Heath Award, it is decided upon by the fellow, all of the graduates who are graduating decide amongst their peers who amongst them should be recognized. And when Regina graduated, her fellow graduates elected her to be the recipient. They held her in that high regard.
What an honor, Regina.
It truly was.
Well, I know I have said it once before, but congratulations again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what does it mean to, have gone through such an intensive program? And, not only did you complete it successfully, but to come out on the other side of it and to have the peers that have been your peers that were walking alongside you through the program to recognize you as somebody that, was inspiring to them as well.
It was complete surprise to me, but hard work actually pays off. And I had a good foundation with the drug court program. They really helped me set that foundation in place. I have been clean now for 2 years, 4 months.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'll give you a hand for that.
Thank you.
So if you could, I would love to go back and just talk a little bit about, the start of your journey, where everything got started before you were connected to drug court. How did you get connected there?
Okay, so I got into some legal trouble due to my addiction. And it was quite obvious to the system that I was a user. And I wasn't like somebody that was selling the drugs. I was somebody using the drugs. And that the drug court program would have been an asset to me, really help me instead of incarceration that hinders so many people. And today I have them to thank because I don't have a felony on my record, but I did a lot of the work. They give you the opportunity and they give you the platform, and then you have to take it from there.
Yeah. So it is an intensive program. And, as you're thinking back was it about a year of time that you spent in the program completing the 5 phases?
Yes, because I try to avoid the whole process for about 6 months. So
it's a big step to take, I imagine.
That was the hardest part for me, was accepting defeat and accepting the fact that I had a problem, accepting the fact that I needed help. Once I got out of my own way, though, it was a lot easier. Things are set up in a way that the phases are set up in a way that are very intensive in the beginning, and they kind of let up a little bit over time as you prove to them that you are starting a new path in life. And I think it's awesome.
Regina, what was kind of that turning point that, helped you get to the point where you decided, okay, I am going to commit to this program?
Being incarcerated and finding out how much time I was going to have to do with everything and taking I was one in like in 5 different jurisdictions. It was a lot of stuff that I was going through, and at that time, I was given an opportunity of not going and being incarcerated, but going and getting help at a rehabilitation center, and doing the necessary steps to do better with my life. And I owe a great deal to Judge Watson and the drug court team.
And as you're thinking back of, the time you spent in those 5 phases, and like you said, a lot of hard work and, some intensive expectations, right? I mean, of course, it would take nothing less, if somebody's looking to change their life, right? There's, I'm sure, a lot that has to go into that. So when you think back about your time in the program, is there anything that stands out to you as one of the most challenging things that you were confronted with?
Once I made my mind up that this was something that I needed to do for me, the rest was a piece of cake, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that first step in admitting that you have a problem. It's that first step in saying what I've been doing is not working anymore. Because we don't use just to use, we use to cope. Stressor is a big trigger for a lot of people, and that's one thing that kept me running back. And today I deal with things a lot differently than I used to. I talk to people more. I attend Zoom meetings, in-person meetings. I do a 12-step program, I have people in my circle that I run to when I have problems and issues, and it's good to have a support system.
Absolutely. Is that some of the things you learned to kind of set up in your life, some of those support systems? Are these different things that you learned while you were in treatment? Yeah, like different mechanisms to help you cope through stressors as they come, because Lord knows that stressors are going to come no matter what season or what time of life you were in, they're there. And so, yeah, there's certainly we all need to have different processes in place to help us out when we need it, for sure. Yeah, well, I'd love to talk a little bit more here with Taylor, our program director for the Lynchburg Adult Recovery Court. Taylor, tell us a little bit more about your role in the program. When did you first meet Regina?
Well, I remember seeing Regina's file before I saw her, and then it was a long time in between getting her file and seeing her. Like she said, she did avoid us for a while. But the last time I saw her, I think was it at graduation? Was that the last time I saw? Yeah. So, it's been close to a year, but she looks great. So it's really good to have her here.
Yeah. So what is your role, Taylor, within the program?
So I am the program director / coordinator. So I handle mainly the day-to-day operations of the program. I handle community outreach and partnerships. So just seeing who can help us in the community, who wants to support us, who wants to support the participants. I serve as a liaison between the team and the Supreme Court, making sure best practices are adhered to, and the team is just aware of everything that's going on. So Judge Watson likes to call me the drug court czar.
So what are some of the ways that our community and different perhaps organizations in the community have gotten behind the Lynchburg Adult Recovery Court to support its participants and graduates?
So I will say Lynchburg is a great community. We are very resource rich. We have so many resources here, and so many people are always willing to help us out. But it's really nice. Our team is so great. Right when we get a referral for somebody into recovery court, our defense team and our clinical staff does such a great job with, just meeting that person where they are. So, some people come in and, they're not stable. They need housing. They need transportation. Maybe they're not eating. They need health insurance. They need a cell phone. They need so many things. And so, our team, I probably know the least out of anyone on our team about resources in the community. But they're just so good at getting people connected to different resources, whether it be transportation, housing, just anything you can possibly think of.
That's amazing. We know that a lot of those barriers can be huge when we're talking about, taking that first step. And, sometimes that means changing somebody's entire life around in order to help them achieve their potential, like Regina has here. I would love to know, Regina, Judge Watson, and Taylor, what is one of the most inspiring transformations you have seen while being a part of the court? And Regina, what comes to mind when you think about, how far you've come since a year and a half ago, right? When you decided to take that first step.
Joyous and free.
Joyous and free, she
Joyous and
says.
free. I'm very blessed. I really am. I've completely done a 180. I don't call it a 360 because then you start where you end where you begin. And that's not my story. So I'm doing a lot better nowadays.
And I will say that I think Gina undersells her accomplishment a little bit. She makes it sound easier than I think that it was. And that all is a result of her hard work, because the state average for success in recovery court, and success being defined as graduating, it's about 40% of participants.
Wow.
So about 60% of statewide participants in a recovery court don't succeed. They don't make it. They don't graduate. And a recovery court, it's hard for me to, just so people know, as of July 1st, their name changed from the Adult Drug Court to the Adult Recovery Court, and that was as a result of legislation passed by the General Assembly. So it's going to take me a while to stop saying drug court. But as I was saying, about 60% of people do not succeed, and I think our recovery court is probably close to those numbers.
We're about 50%.
We're about 50%. Yeah. So, you come into drug court, and there's no guarantee of success. The only guarantee is that you'll be given the opportunity to succeed, but whether you succeed is dependent on you. And you asked about, some of the more inspiring things I've seen. Gina was one of them. She was, and I think that's reflected by the high regard that her peers held her in. And there are other people. I've got to say, I didn't know a lot about recovery court. I inherited the court. I didn't start it. Judge Burnett started it in 2017, and I took it over in 2020, right in the middle of COVID. And so it took us a while to kind of get back going because of COVID. But since then, I've seen any number of very inspirational people who have succeeded. And a lot of them, I didn't think there was a chance that they would succeed. They were so deep in their addictions. They'd come to court and they just looked terrible. And, they couldn't pass a drug test. And I was more worried about them just remaining alive.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, something, I don't know what it is, whether it's in treatment or something inside of them, but something clicks. And all of a sudden, you see a different person. And I don't know how many cases we've had like that, but we've had quite a few. And when I first started as the drug court judge, the first time I saw it, it amazed me. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and now I've come to expect it. And it teaches you not to give up on people. There are people, and you're like, there's no way they're going to make it, but don't give up, because I've seen too many who have changed, and I'm not sure what the secret sauce is. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing to see when it happens.
Well, I may just have to turn it back to Regina here. What is the secret sauce?
Yeah.
What is that thing that just...
It's coming to a realization that you need help and that you're ready to ask for the help. They have all the resources. It's up to you to tap into them.
It's been very clear to me just in getting together for this podcast today that, a big part of that, those resources are also the relationships and the connections. It's so obvious to me that you have built within the program. It warmed my heart when you walked in here, Regina, to see you and Judge Watson sharing a warm embrace. And it's just so nice to know that, despite people's normal interactions with the court system, which obviously aren't usually good ones, right?
Right.
That you can walk into, an environment here at the podcast and see Judge Watson and to feel supported in that court environment is amazing, And I imagine that's, not something that people often feel.
Well, that's one of the differences about the recovery court. I see these participants in the first what two
Two,
first,
first two
first two
phases.
phases. I'm seeing them twice a month, and then in phase 3, 4, and 5, I'm seeing them once a month. And generally, people are in phase 1 and phase 2 longer than they're in phase 3, 4, and 5.
Oh, it feels like forever.
Forever, yeah. So I get to know the participants, and I'm rooting for them. Whereas in other aspects of my job, I see someone once, maybe twice, and then move on. And so you don't really get to know the whole person. And one of the things about drug court, I know where they work. I know, what's going on with their families. I know when they're having a bad week for whatever reason. And so you do get, I don't want to say invested. That might be a little strong. But you do get to know the person, and you're rooting for them. I often tell them I'm your biggest fan. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to hold you accountable, because I am. I don't think I would be doing any of them any favors if I didn't hold them accountable. But I do that because I am a fan and I want to see them succeed. And so that's what's different about the recovery court from everything else I do, is just the getting to know the whole person over time.
Yeah, it's so important. And Taylor, what would you say is one of the most inspiring transformations you've seen in someone who has come through the program?
It's such a tough question, because honestly, you can look at any of our graduates and there's been a 180 with every single. I feel like at some point with every single person that's graduated, we've, sat down and been like, what do we do? We're just at a loss for what to do with this person, and like Judge Watson was saying, something just clicks. And then, I get to see them a little bit more than Judge Watson does for the people that I supervise. And it is really nice to see, kind of when they're happier, they're smiling more, you can tell they're just a little bit happier to be there. They're showing up early, rather than showing up late. They're excited to take their drug test because they know they're not using. And so I don't know if I can pinpoint one spectacular story, but I definitely have some interesting ones and some interesting stories. We had one guy who's now a graduate, and I'll never forget, after court, he came up to me and he was like, "Can you get Judge Watson to put some jail time over my head? I need it to to use as leverage for me in this program." And I just kind of looked at him, because whoever walks up to somebody and says, "Oh, I want some jail time over my head," and
but just looking for that accountability, it's amazing. Regina, I'm sure you can relate.
That's an example of what I'm saying by using the tools that they offer. It's a little bit extreme, I know, but it's what gets the job done. I mean, when you're in the situation where you're getting ready to lose your freedom,
yeah,
you'll do
puts it all on the line.
Needs to be done to not lose it.
Before you entered the program, Regina, did you ever feel like you had, that level of support in your life, like a person or a group or whatever it was, to really help you that much with the accountability piece?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to come by. It's hard to play the role of the person that's going to help keep somebody accountable. So, we certainly applaud Judge Watson for, his amazing work in the court, and for really truly caring about, like you said, and, almost to say being invested in the futures of those that we're serving here through the court. It's, so important because, we're also thinking about the future of our community, right? Which, we love Lynchburg. We love Central Virginia. And, we want to see this place be a place where individuals in recovery can thrive and be a part of the community in every way possible. So Regina, I would love to know, when you look back on your journey to get where you are today, what are you most proud of?
God, I really don't know. Maybe making it this far. I have so much further to go, and I'm excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
I've come a long way.
What's different in your life today than it was a year and a half ago?
Oh, the peace.
Yeah.
Peace of mind. I have more peace in my life now. It was so chaotic, and we get used to it. And I think sometimes, at least in my case, I was also addicted to the chaos that lifestyle created. I wasn't just addicted to the drugs. I was addicted to all the craziness that came along with it too. So being able to sit still in a quiet place would have been impossible for me at that time.
I do want to add, one thing that, we often get to talk to about some of the participants is, obviously we're not a court where reunification with families is the main goal, but, a lot of our participants and graduates, they do experience that, they reconnect with family that, they may have been separated from due to their use. And so that's really nice to see. We have seen people get to see their kids more, or just reconnect with parents or siblings, whomever they may have been disconnected from. And that's great because, if Carl Mack was here, he would say the opposite of addiction is connection. So
Carl Mack indeed did just share that in our last podcast, didn't he? So I'm so glad you shared that. Regina, have you had that exact or similar experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
Most definitely, yeah.
What are some of the closest relationships you share today?
I'm back really, really, really close with my grandfather. My grandmother has since passed. But I have a relationship now with my mom's side of the family, which was almost non-existent. So it was very rough. And now to be able to be invited to like Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas functions and, family things.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up, Taylor. I think, when we're thinking about the opposite of addiction is connection, beyond being connected to our community and our family members, being connected to different treatment options provides just so many more opportunities to, different outlets. And I know in our series thus far, we've had so many certified peer recovery specialists join us on the show to just sort of talk about, their journey through recovery and where it has taken them. And, it even so much to be able to find a career in, helping others walk through some of the things that they've already experienced themselves, which is really just truly amazing. So it's, very special. And as I understand it, there is a peer, a part of the program. Carl is the peer for the Lynchburg Adult Recovery Court.
Yeah, I probably should revise my description of drug court or recovery court as a three-legged stool. We're more of a four-legged stool because Carl is a big part of our team, and he's with the Department of Health. He's a health educator and peer support professional, and I require every participant in drug court to have regular communications with Carl. And I think a lot of the success of our participants is in no small part because of Carl and the connections that he makes with the participants. So from now on, we're a four-legged stool.
Yes, peer support cannot be understated when we're thinking about treatment. It is so, so important. I see Regina shaking her head. How impactful is that? And has that been for you to be able to walk in this journey alongside other peers?
It goes back to it takes one to know one type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Having somebody that's been down the road, maybe not the exact same road, but it brought up the exact same feelings. You know what I mean? Maybe not the exact same situations, but we all have the feelings. And that's basically what the bottom line is, how to cope with those feelings.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah.
And Taylor, how does a person get connected to this program? What does that look like, the referral process?
So typically it starts when someone is, they have charges in our circuit court. And, whether it be the judge, whether it be the prosecutor, the defense attorney, the client themselves, a probation officer, somebody says, this person might be an ideal candidate for the program. Typically it's somebody that, has been kind of in and out, typically on the same kind of charges, whether it's drug related, larceny, stealing to sell to support the habit, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And so, they say, hey, I want to try recovery court. And at that point, the judge, whether it's Judge Watson or other presiding judge, he does an evaluation order. And then at that point, we get the case. And so from there, we evaluate based on, what their substance use disorder might be, the level of intensity that it's at. And then we've actually been trying to get, clinical evaluations done just to see what their treatment level is like. So if somebody comes in and, they really need inpatient, we're going to try to get them into inpatient, even if it means, missing their first court date to officially be accepted because that's what they need, And so Rhonda Turner and her team at Horizon do a great job with, helping us out with that and just get on the ball so that people can be referred to treatment faster.
And the way that it comes to me is usually, well, almost always, it's in the form of a plea agreement between the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and the defense attorney. And oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, the defendant is represented by the Lynchburg Public Defender's Office. And so they do a very good job between the Commonwealth Attorney and the defense attorneys in identifying potential candidates. And generally, if they don't agree, the person probably is not going to come into drug court. I can't imagine having a smoothly operating, successful recovery court without the support of your Commonwealth Attorney's Office. And I will say that Bethany Harrison, the Commonwealth Attorney for the city of Lynchburg, is a big proponent. And I will even say when I became the recovery court judge, she was one of the first people to reach out to me because she knew that I didn't know much about it and offered me resources and other things to kind of get up to speed. And also, our public defender's office, Aaron Boone leads that office. They once someone comes into a recovery court as a participant, they are represented by the public defender's office, and that's in the person of Brad Lindsay. He's an attorney with that office, and he does a fantastic job of representing the participants. So the Commonwealth Attorney and the defense bar are a big part of identifying, who would be a likely candidate to participate in the recovery court.
I'm so glad you mentioned some of those key partners here. We know that this program would certainly not be possible if it wasn't for being deeply rooted in collaborative partnerships. And these folks in the community really care about every single one of these individuals that are coming through their programs and the graduates to be. So thank you so much for mentioning that, Judge Watson. So, Judge Watson, what would you say to someone who has not had good experiences with the court system in the past and, perhaps are hesitant to even considering a program like this if it's something that is an option for them?
Well, the first thing I would say is that there are no promises. And this is what I tell people when they are presented to me at a hearing through a plea agreement. And I'm considering whether to order that they be evaluated to participate, that I expect two things from them. And I tell them this at the beginning. I expect you to try This isn't some way to just kick the can down the road to avoid going to jail. You have to commit that you're going to put in an effort, and also that you're going to be honest. And so that's the first two things I tell people who are about to enter into the recovery court. If they're willing to do that, then they can be successful, and pretty early on who really meant it and who really didn't. And I think most people who tell me that at a plea hearing really mean it. It's just a matter of how to make that work. So the other thing that I would tell someone is that it ain't easy. I mean, it is a big commitment, and it's not for everyone. As we said earlier, they are expected to go to all of their treatment. They're expected to meet with either their probation officer or Taylor. They're expected to have regular communications with Carl, and they're expected to come to court. And if they're not willing to put in that effort, then they're not going to succeed. And so I wouldn't sugarcoat it with someone who's thinking about coming in that it's easy, because it's not. Some people may decide that I'll take my chances and do my 6 months in jail or whatever, rather than have to do all of that. And some people have made that decision. But I would also tell people that if you make it through the other end, it can be life-changing, and I have seen it change lives.
And Regina, what might you say to someone who's listening here today who is hesitant on, taking that first step to being a part of a program such as this one, or really any form of treatment that's out there?
I would say that you have to be ready for it. Nobody can want it for you. Nobody can do the work for you. You have to be willing to do it all for yourself. You have to love yourself enough to do it for yourself.
Well, thank you, Gina, so much for being here today to just share a little bit about your recovery journey. And Taylor and Judge Watson, thank you both so much for everything you're doing to support this program and its individuals and graduates and participants, and to all of the partners that have, come together to make this program a possibility here in the city of Lynchburg, serving the residents of Central Virginia. We are just so honored to be a part of it. On behalf of Horizon Behavioral Health, I would just like to thank each of you again for being here today. Thank you to our listeners for being a part of today's discussion and for being willing to have difficult conversations in hopes that someone listening can benefit from some of the things we've talked about here today. So to our listeners who have tuned into today's episode, let's not let the discussion end here. We encourage you to go home and have these conversations with your friends, your families, and in your communities. Talk about these different treatment options that are out there and encourage folks to take advantage of some of the resources that are available to them. We know that first step to treatment is never going to be an easy one, but with the right support and the correct resources, individuals can and will change their lives. And I know it as a fact because I'm sitting here across from Gina, and she is just a shining light of what that looks like. Even branded with a badge of honor by her peers throughout her time in the program, just being such an inspiration to those around her. So just amazing to hear your story and how your hard work has translated into being an inspiration for those around you. And so just definitely want to say thank you for everything that you are and that you've done in the program, and the model that you are to others here in our community, Gina.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'd like to just take a moment to thank each of you on behalf of Horizon Behavioral Health and our listeners for being a part of today's discussion and being willing to have these conversations in hopes that someone listening can benefit from programs such as the Lynchburg Adult Recovery Court and even the experiences that were shared here today that folks can glean from and just, find their own path to recovery in a way that's going to be most beneficial to them. Thank you for joining us on the Recovery Journey podcast with Horizon Behavioral Health. Remember, our greatest triumph is not in never failing, but in rising up every time we fall. If you live in Central Virginia and you or a loved one is ready to reach out for help, call Horizon today at 434-477-5000 to schedule your first appointment. Let us walk this journey with you, and together we can find hope and healing on the horizon.